headed in a good direction, and it's terrifying to see.
Antisemitism and making my voice public.
If you're black, you can't go past this point.
The only way Jews can live and not get killed. So many more murders, so many more real genocides, people that are really starving.
The 10 plagues, 80% of the Israelites stayed back. Like, what in the world? But this is something that we, it's a mistake we make in every single generation. But the punchline of that script, the end game, is that after all said and done, and they come after the Jews, and the Jews try to assimilate, and they do assimilate, the last stage of that script is that empire falls time and time again. Now, I don't want to predict the fall of Western civilization, but we're not headed in a good direction. So how do you think, what's the next step in terms of not only anti-Semitism, but Western civilization? We see the obvious, infiltration at mass of radical Islam. We see Western values basically disintegrating. We see truth no longer mattering. Where are we headed in the West?
I will have to admit that I've thought, where would I potentially move if I couldn't stay in the United States? Obviously, Israel's one choice, and they're surrounded by people that want to kill them. And if it's not safe to be in the United States anymore, probably there won't be a lot of support for Israel from the United States either in that scenario. So the question is that I thought of, where would I go if I had to? And, should I move money out of the country? Should I look at places like Argentina or something like that, where maybe it's you can lay low there? But obviously we're still far from that.
Are we?
Things can move quickly.
Are we far from that?
I would hope to think that. When I say far, who knows? Obviously, it's not going to happen in 3 months or 6 months, but things do move quickly.
I mean, let me play devil's advocate here on that point, okay? First of all, let's start with the fact that you are absolutely safer here in Israel than you are anywhere else, because there's one thing that you forgot, and that is that we have an army here dedicated to your protection. Now, that army failed on October 7th, and I'm not sugarcoating that, but there still is an army dedicated to your protection, whereas anywhere else in the world, no one's protecting you. I think that if you look at the events objectively, which is hard to do, admittedly, it's hard to do when you're in it. It seems to me that if I were to make a list of things that if those things happen, I'm going to start asking whether I'm safe here. If you look at that list, it seems to me that it's all happened. I mean, just think about it for 1 second. You got anti-Semites in Congress. You got Jews being harassed on the streets. You got Jews being assaulted on the streets. You got synagogues being firebombed. You got Jewish schools being threatened. You got blood libels spreading across the media. I think the only thing that's left to happen that hasn't happened completely yet, it's happened partially, is the full institutionalized anti-Semitism.
There's no state-sponsored anti-Semitism yet.
That's the last thing. And I got to tell you, I'm not as optimistic as you, because we're getting there. I mean, you see hundreds of thousands of people marching in Sydney with flags of ISIS, and the authorities doing nothing, just standing there doing nothing. So while it's not legislated yet, the different branches of government, we have diplomats and politicians across Europe who are not only accepting radicalism, but they're rewarding radicalism with a state, right? We have, the legislative executive branch, we have the law enforcement ignoring it. So yeah, it's not written in the law quite yet, but I don't know that I think that the West has that much time left if, and this is a big if it's not reversed. Meaning, without getting into, American politics, I think, one of the things that Trump has been definitely coming down on hard has been anti-Semitism on campuses and things like that. So it's not crazy to imagine the scenario that Trump reverses the trajectory. It's not crazy. It's never happened before in history, but it's not crazy. And unless that happens, unless it is reversed, if you look at the data and you look where we're headed, it's quite clear that we don't have a lot of time left, and it's terrifying to see. But this is the reality. Anyway, I want to hear more about this petition. How, how'd you hear about it? What it means to those who are watching and might not be familiar.
A friend of mine, Barry LaBelle, he introduced me to it. So I said, sure, I'll sign it. And it's important to be active if you're Jewish, and to make sure that we're protected here. And obviously, through lobbying and Congress and things like that. But what's interesting, there's always been bipartisan support for Israel, but now we see that, the recent resolutions, over half of Democratic U.S. senators voted to stop giving aid or military aid to Israel. That's just the start. It's never been anything like that before. It's usually, 98 to 2 or 95 to 5. Now it's half of Democratic, over half, majority of Democratic U.S. senators. Now there is anti-Semitism on the right. I would say among the white nationalists, there's a lot of anti-Semitism, but in Congress right now, it's swelling on the left. And whether Trump, reverses his course or not, you never know what someone's going to do. Obviously, politicians do what's in their best interest, but the pendulum always swings back and forth. And when people get fed up or they're not happy with the status quo, then you get people voting the other side. And you could easily get a Congress and a president that's on the other side, and they have constituents that are anti-Israel, and they're going to listen to those constituents, and that could be the next domino that falls.
Terrifying to think about. So, okay, so those that are watching that aren't familiar with the petition, just walk me through what it means and how does it work and how have you implemented it? Just walk me through it.
I'm not that well versed in how it started, but when I was asked if I would sign a petition as a business owner condemning anti-Semitism and making my voice public, that's all I really needed to hear. I said, fine, I'll do that, no problem. And if someone doesn't want to do business with us because anti-Semitism or anti people that are against Israel and Jews, then it is what it is. It's fine. I don't mind that.
Well, what do you say to those many people who moronically, sorry for using, say, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm only anti-Zionist? What's your response to that?
Well, my response is Zionism is the belief that the Jews should have a homeland so they could go somewhere and not be persecuted like they have been throughout history. And if you're against that, then you're against having a Jewish state, which means that you would have to open your borders and let Muslims move in there if they wanted to, just like you let Jews move in there, and they would become a majority eventually. And we've already seen, imagine trying to be a Jew and going to Gaza, what would happen to you? You'd be killed. My son was just in Israel, and I said, can you go to the West Bank? You can't go to the West Bank and be safe. And that's why they had to rip out all the settlers, or not the settlers, they had to rip out the citizens of Gaza that were Jewish when they decided to withdraw their military presence, because they would be killed. So if you're anti-Zionism, then you're pro a bunch of Jews getting killed.
Well said. That's
right?
Well said. I do.
That's because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I have to correct you on one thing, and this is very important. First of all, if I may, obviously I can tell you what to say, what not to say, but I refuse to call it the West Bank. It's Judea and Samaria.
Fine, Judea and Samaria, fine.
Right. The reason that people call it the West Bank is quite obvious, because if you call it Judea, it sounds a lot like the word Jew. And then, like we said before, it goes against your own narrative that Jews are not indigenous to this land. So number one,
you're right. I do call it Judea and Samaria.
But also, when you say it's dangerous to go in Judea and Samaria, let's be more specific. It's dangerous to go into an Arab town in Judea and Samaria. Right. My brothers live in Judea and Samaria. It's right outside Jerusalem. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of my older brother. Probably not.
Yeah.
My older brother, his name was Fuld, and he was indeed walking in Judea and Samaria, and an Arab boy came from behind and stabbed him in the neck and murdered him, basically, in a terrorist attack 7 years ago. And that's not a very good example of what I'm about to say, but the reality is that there are communities who are flourishing and thriving, and beautiful towns and beautiful places in Judea and Samaria where a Jew cannot enter. And this is, by the way, the craziest part, is Arab towns in Judea and Samaria where there is literally, this is not an exaggeration, I don't know if you've seen these signs, there is literally a red sign in the entrance to every Arab town in Judea and Samaria saying, basically, if you're Jewish, you can't go past this point.
If they're in charge, Jews can't go there.
Imagine it said anywhere in the United States, if you're Black, you can't go past this point. If you're a woman, you can't go past this point. If you're Muslim, you can't go. Can you imagine? Like, the world would go freaking crazy. But when it says you're a Jew, you can't go past this point, no one cares. Not only does no one care, but still they call Israel the apartheid state. I can't
Right.
walk into a town or a village because I'm Jewish.
It's
I'm the
so
apartheid.
crazy. Why you want us to live together? We're not even allowed in the lands that are overseen by Arab control, where we get killed. But you want us to all live together in one land, and you think we're just going to be safe? That's what's so naive. These secular Jews, they don't believe in a Jewish state. That's a bad thing. It's you shouldn't have that. Well, it's the only way Jews can live and not get killed.
That's right. Yeah, it's totally crazy. Have you experienced? I mean, you're a business owner, so you don't answer to anyone. I guess you do. Everyone answers to someone, your investors or whatever it may be. But have you personally experienced any sort of anti-Semitism, or have there been repercussions for you speaking up and being so strong in your conviction to fight anti-Semitism, or have you not experienced anything?
I can't remember. I've lived in South Florida, which is one of the largest Jewish populations. Maybe it would be different. There's a group that I do some business with, and they're middle America type of people, and they don't really understand that much about Jews.
They've never met one.
Actually, I was on a group chat, and there was a verse in the Parsha about how Moses's father-in-law told him to he was overworked. You need to get some really smart people and delegate to them. And there's really a good wisdom about how you would scale a business. You can't just do everything yourself. And I mentioned that in this group, in this Facebook group, and a couple of people sent me a message. Do Jews read the Bible? I didn't know that. And so
Wow,
I had explained to them how it worked, and
that's wild. It's wild.
but
Listen,
it's
what can I tell you? Let's swing back to the beginning of the conversation. I'm here in Israel, my kids in Gaza. I'm fighting online. We're all doing our part, but standing up and making a statement and a declaration that you will not accept anti-Semitism in the workplace. You will not hire anti-Semites. You will not support it. You will speak up against it. To me, that is of equal importance, if not more, than the things that we're all doing over here. So, I could definitely say on behalf of the Jewish people that it is very deeply appreciated. And while maybe you didn't experience it directly, it does come with risk. Some people have more risk, some people have less risk, but it comes with a risk when you align yourself with someone who is so vilified on the global scale, on the global stage. So first of all, I just wanted to say thank you. I don't take it for granted. None of us take it for granted. It's tremendously appreciated. Second of all, I want to say that I hope I'm wrong about my predictions about the West, because that would be tragic on a different level to see the West fall to radical Islam. And third of all, I think, all I can say is keep doing what you're doing, keep standing your ground. And somehow, sooner or later, I don't know how long it will take, but somehow sooner or later, truth will prevail about Israel, about the Jewish people. And while we teach an entire generation not to use critical thinking, eventually people will come to their senses and say, wait a second, I'm looking at the pro-Palestinian marches and I'm looking at the pro-Israel marches. There's something fundamentally different here. One side seems to want to live in peace, and one side seems to not want to let the other side live in peace. Those two things are not equal. But right now, like I said, everything's moral relativism, and it's no better or worse. It's just different. And that's one of the biggest symptoms of, I would say, woke, or just in general, Western, I don't want to say, I guess Western liberal politics. And it's sad to see, but like I said, I hope it reverses itself. And I hope and pray that the day comes soon that we wouldn't have to sign petitions to combat anti-Semitism. I hope that comes soon. But meanwhile, again, thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And again, when you do decide that Israel's your place, I got you for shawarma.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just something crossed my mind. Why does so much aid internationally and attention go to these refugees, the Palestinian people, when there are people across the world that are so many more murders, so many more real genocides, people that are really starving, and you don't see anyone sending aid to those people. But this is the group that gets
Yeah.
all the aid and all the attention.
I mean, that's just one of many, many things on a long list of questions that like make no sense. You forget the aid. Why does anyone even care about this war? Like
Right.
the casualty numbers, even if you take Hamas's numbers, even if you take their inflated numbers, are not even close. Not even it's like look what's going on in Syria. There's so many examples. Nobody should even be talking about this war, let alone sending in aid. But that's the reality, and somehow it's no Jews, no news.
Right.
But on our side, on what we need to do, we need to, in my opinion, stop taking these people into account because we cannot appease them. Whatever we do, we're going to be the wrong ones. And so
right. We just have to survive. We have to do what we have to do.
We have to do what we have to do. And yeah, of course, we want to maintain friendships and relationships with America and other countries. But if it means, as Golda Meir said, I'd rather be alive and hated than dead and loved.
Right.
So I guess we'll end on that note. Thank you again. And I really do look forward to meeting you in Israel.
All right. Take care. Good talking.
Thanks so much.